The Parabellum is the best legendary primary in Destiny 2 across all of PvE content. And that, of course, is just my opinion, but if you disagree, you're wrong. I suppose I will have to try and back this up a little bit at least though, so here's why. First, the basics. Parabellum, a solar 900 RPM SMG. Available only as a world drop right now, but if everyone had a god roll, the game would be too easy. I think the closest comparison right now would be the Callus mini tool. And here's the perk pool. Removing the not so great options, this is what we are left with. Now there's a few ways to play with a Parabellum. Briefly, you got the standard ad slaying option, frenzy and rewind rounds. That will do really well, but it's not really special. What I prefer is a more utility role. Because of how Destiny is played right now, there's a lot better options to use than a primary weapon. Think like Banner of War Strand Titans, some Bracer Solar Warlocks, and Hunters might have something. So it makes more sense for a primary weapon, the weakest part of the kit, to enable these abilities or even juice up your special and heavy options. So here, take a look at this, it's really insane gameplay. I shot a whole mag into a red bar. But there's a lot which is enabled because of this. First, the solar artifact loop being triggered. It all starts with Flint Striker, which grants radiant on rapid precision hits. This being a 900 RPM option with a relatively small mag size, it activates the perk faster than all other options. It's 9 crits, or like 2/3 of a second of firing. Radiant grants all weapons 25% increased damage. And while Radiant, solar weapons also apply 30 scorch to targets with Kindling Trigger and cause targets to ignite on death with Razor Precision. Most importantly though, you can activate Radiant whenever you want, even while not on a solar subclass. The next part is my choice of 4th column perk, Attrition Orbs. After 24 hits, an Orb of Power will be spawned. This could all be on a single target, or between a few. And since we're already in SMG range, collecting this orb shouldn't be a problem. You could also roll Shoot to Loot in the 3rd column, if you're exceptionally lucky. While it might not seem like a big deal, for my build, which is just a basic Banner of War Titan, here's what that orb is doing. It's granting Woven Mail for 10 seconds with Thread of Warding, which is a flat 45% damage resist. That Woven Mail then goes on to activate Into the Fray, which gives 400% faster melee energy. It also starts health regeneration using the mod Better Already. I also have 2 Solar Surge mods. This will give all my solar weapons 22% increased damage, and this does stack with Radiant. It also gives strand weapons Unraveling rounds, with the artifact mod Unraveling Orbs. It provides a small amount of super energy, and teammates can also pick up these orbs and get all of the previously mentioned benefits, or different ones depending on their mod setup. And this orb will spawn with every mag fired. With a high RPM, it's pretty much all the time. Sometimes you will complete a strike and a teammate will have that just a stupid amount of orbs generated. This is probably why. So really, as I've mentioned, it's more of an enabler than a damage dealer. But it is still doing better damage than most options out there because of its archetype and Radiant plus Surge stacking. But since abilities and non-primary weapons are the way to get stuff done, it's just better to enable those. And sure, you could sit there with a Polaris Lance for 4 to 5 business weeks and get a GM done. Or you could just use Banner of War and the W key to breeze through it in a fraction of the time. Parabellum makes this work. I'm also going to take a bit of a guess here on what questions people might have. So here they are. For the solar weapon mod loop, that should work with any solar weapon. So why not just use, any other option, probably something like Polaris. And it's really because the Parabellum's archetype activates them all a lot quicker, which then means you can use their benefits for a solar heavy weapon, or use the Parabellum itself to break barrier champion shields since you now have Radiant. For the slower activating weapons, they might not even proc in time. Attrition Orbs is kind of pointless because of Solar Siphon. And well, I think Attrition Orbs is much faster and a lot more proactive than Siphons. You could also just use both. And for a Siphon mod to work, you will need to land rapid final blows, which might not work if the teammates get the last shot, or you're in a GM where enemies take longer to defeat. Attrition Orbs doesn't even require a single enemy defeated. Really, if you're using Siphon mods, you're probably better to just go the Waveframe GL. Some might think it's probably not worth it because you lose out on either a damage or AoE perk. And I think that Radiant and Solar Surge is probably more than enough but ideally you'll be dealing the majority of your damage with abilities or special and heavy weapons anyway. Over-relying on primaries slow down activities a whole lot, and while it may seem that it makes it safer, realistically it's also just giving you more opportunities to wipe. And if you do wipe, you'll end up wasting a lot more time. Also, having an ignition on final blows is much better than something like incandescent, which only rarely applies scorch stacks. Again, you could have both here, but most red bars will be taken out by the ignition, so it doesn't really matter. And finally, what works best with a Parabellum? I think a solar heavy weapon such as Dragon's Breath is pretty good. If you have a full send ability based build, the tractor cannon could also work. Swap out surge mods for ability regen options if you're doing this. And a strand special weapon like a 1-2 punch swordbreaker or controlled burst scatter signal should probably be used. Overall, attrition orbs with shoot to loot or rewind rounds. The spam at targets, get artifact buffs and orbs, then go in with your other weapons or abilities. Really good on Strand Titan I've found, and we're definitely in a Strand Titan meta right now. But it will work on any build, like literally anything. Thank you for watching.